I'm Ric Edelman. Are you fed up with traffic? In the near future, that problem goes away. I'll show you the ultimate in cruise control. Also, should you be investing in rental property? My answer is, well, watch and see. And out of the mouths of babes, we'll hear great financial news from a kid who can't even vote yet. All that and more on this edition of The Truth About Money.
This program is funded in part by TD Ameritrade. At TD Ameritrade, we support investors and independent registered investment advisors every day, providing access to tools, research, and educational resources that help you pursue your goals with confidence.
I'm Ed Burns. I've spent a lot of time around cameras. However, I've never actually swallowed one before. Till now. It's a camera the size of a pill that lets your doctor see inside of you. That's kind of awesome.
Technology is evolving. We believe the way to invest should evolve as well. A prospectus is available at 1-800-iShares, which includes investment objectives, risks, fees, expenses, and other information that you should read and consider carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal.
I'm Ric Edelman. The truth about money is you need to save it, invest it, and protect it. So how do you protect it as you're taking the next step in your life? The answer is just dollars and cents.
Hi, Rick. I'm Tia Soto.
Hi, Rick. I'm Chris Soto.
And we're getting ready to get married, and we wanted to know, is a joint account a good thing to have?
Yes, but not until after you get married. Very often, people who are getting married, and congratulations, by the way, are in a hurry to build their new life, and so they start entering into legal agreements before they have that legal certificate of marriage. Don't buy a house until you get married. Don't create joint ownership of financial assets until you get married, because you're not married yet. So, first things first. If, of course, marriage isn't in your future, or if you are unable to be married for any one of a number of reasons, then we have to go into a different set of direction from a financial planning perspective. But for those who are, like you, planning to get married, we want to handle things correctly. And one of the things that we mean by correctly is not you, not me, but us. In other words, you are a single family unit. It is inappropriate for you to continue segregating ownership of assets separately. Very often, this is what some people think to do. I have my money, she has her money, and so be it. That usually is not a recipe for effective money management and a harmonious marriage. So what you should do instead is really very simple. Everything goes into one bucket. Checking accounts, investment accounts, ownership of the home, cars, and the like. There may be reasons to have separate money held in separate accounts. For example, retirement accounts have to be in just one name only. There may be a legitimate reason for having a separate credit card or a separate checking account. All of that can make sense as well. But even if the account registration is in only one name, both of you should be fully aware of the existence of that account. Both of you should be aware of the purpose of that account and the use of that account. Remember, it's no longer you, it's no longer me, it is now us when it comes to marriage. And we all know that money is one of the leading causes of divorce, but money can also be one of the leading causes of a blissful relationship. From Oscar-winning movie stars to TV personalities, we recently asked just one question, Celebrity Edition. What's the biggest financial mistake you've ever made?
The biggest mistake I ever made was going into the restaurant business. I always wanted to have a restaurant. I don't know what it is about the restaurant business. People want to be in that business, and I'm a people person. So my late brother and I invested a lot of money into a restaurant in Memphis, Tennessee, a beautiful restaurant. And we were in the business for about 3 years, and we discovered not being on site every time we would visit the restaurant, everybody seemed to have a new car in the parking lot except us. And well, we found out that We were being stolen blind. You know, if you aren't there to watch the restaurant, watch the business 24 hours a day, that can happen. So we lost over $500,000 in that. That was a tough venture.
The restaurant business is a very difficult business, fraught with pitfalls. You have to kind of be, master of all arts at the same time. You have to be a purchaser, a producer, a marketer, customer service person, everything all at once, and you have to do them all well.
Is rental property a good investment, or is it a money pit? Real estate management is one subject that I had the privilege of talking about with members of the United States military at Virginia's Fort Belvoir.
Hi, Rick. I'm Kim, and I'm an Army retiree, and my husband will be retiring in a year. So I have a question regarding real estate. When we were stationed in North Carolina, we purchased a home in the 90s, and the home is appreciated in value, and we currently rent it out. We currently have a home in Virginia that we have a mortgage on as well, and we're thinking we're going to move out of the area in the next couple of years. So, and that home is appreciated as well. So my question to you is, do we hold on to those homes as long as they can be rented out, or do we look at selling one or both of them?
The advice that I provide to members of the military regarding real estate is different from what most people believe in. So this will be a little controversial for all of you here. I begin with the premise that you should not own a home, or you should not buy one unless you plan to live in it for 7 to 10 years. And the reason that I say 7 to 10 years is that real estate can take a very long time for it to grow in value, making it worthwhile. There's a huge amount of cash you have to come up with to get into the home. There are a tremendous amount of selling expenses when you try to sell the home. I mean, 6% of the future value of the home is the commission expense, which is massive. You're going to spend an awful lot of money as a homeowner that you would never spend as a renter, decorating, maintenance, and so on. And we aren't sure if the house is going to grow in value sufficiently to really make it worthwhile. Hence the challenge for members of the military, because it's very rare for members of the military to stay put for 7 to 10 years. I understand where you're coming from, but here's my concern. You're fundamentally believing that the house will rise in value net of all of your expenses. That is uncertain. Second, it's an illiquid asset, meaning if you need money for some other reason, it's not easy to sell a house, especially when you have a rental contract in place. Third, houses are cash killers. As we all know, they're a money pit. And if something goes wrong with that house, you're going to have to come up with a bunch of cash to get the problem resolved, especially when that house is hundreds, maybe even thousands of miles away. It's bad enough when you own a rental around the block and you can show up after work or after a shift. But when that house is a long distance away, you're now going to incur expenses that you otherwise might have used your own sweat equity to deal with. Recognizing all of my concerns and caveats, if you still wanted to go ahead with it, I would say you're not alone. A couple of million other members of the military do it too. Usually with a reasonable degree of success. There's more than one way to get rich. There's more than one way to make money, and real estate certainly is a valid way. But I do want you to realize the inherent dangers associated with that strategy.
Thank you.
When interest rates go up, bond prices A, stay the same, B, go up, C, go down, D, it's unpredictable. Stay tuned and we'll be right back with the answer.
Imagine commuting on roads with no traffic jams, or never having to search for a parking space, ever. Sound like a fantasy? Well, futurist Brad Templeton says technology will turn that dream into reality very soon.
Transportation's been one of those industries where things double maybe every 100 years. What's going to happen this decade is the computer and the car are going to get married. And Moore's Law is going to come to transportation. This is actually the biggest economic impact we're going to see from computer technology coming in this decade. It's quite dramatic. The numbers behind cars are amazing. We spend about 25% of our total energy budget on cars and about 25% of our CO2 emissions. We devote half the land in some of our cities like Los Angeles to cars. Human beings drive in the United States every year about 3 trillion miles. And as a nerd, I love to say that's half a light year. It takes about 60 billion hours. 60 billion hours of doing this. You know that Americans only work about 240 billion hours, so that's 1/4 of the amount of time we have for all the productivity in the entire country is spent handling that steering wheel. Those numbers are absolutely amazing. Driving, as it turns out, isn't something that needs you to be like a HAL or the data from Star Trek. You don't have to be as smart as a human.
Okay, I sit in the car and I don't have to drive it. What's such a big deal about that?
Well, if you suddenly see cars as a service, something that just comes to you, solves your transportation problems and goes away, it's a completely different world, and the economics are completely different.
It's like the elevator cab. I don't care which elevator shows up. I'm just going to get in the one that arrives first and takes me to where I want to go.
That's absolutely right. I mean, if you're going to impress a girl on a date, you probably would like to pay for something a little fancier. But the nice thing about robots is they don't care about how convenient it is to refuel.
So if the car has to wait in line for hours to refuel, what do you care? You're at the office.
Exactly. Or if it has to wait for a battery swap or rescheduling, or has to even go a few miles out of its way in order to find some convenient fuel. So all the rules of fuel change. It changes the fuel we'll use in them. And of course, fuel is such a huge part of the economy because it makes it practical to use other fuels besides gasoline. Gasoline has a 100-year head start on all the other fuels. Every time someone wants to do something like electric or hydrogen or biofuel or anything else special, they have to deal with this 100-year head start, and there are gas stations on every corner. As we stop needing parking because these vehicles either drop people off and go away or park themselves more densely, suddenly the people with the parking will say, I'm wasting this land. I need to do something better with it. But on top of that, let's not forget about those 34,000 people who are killed in car accidents in the United States every year. That's the third largest cause of what you call years of life lost, because younger people die in car accidents.
So we will see much less land use. We'll see greater time efficiency for humans. We will see less environmental impact, tremendous amount of time savings, much improved health and safety. But there will be a disruptive element to this. If you drive a taxi or a truck, you're going to be out of work.
No, there's no question. And technology does displace employment a lot of the time. There are very few technologies that haven't resulted in that. And I think those people who have gone to those jobs will find other jobs that hopefully that match their skill set and can give them the money they want.
So it sounds like a very exciting future, some displacement, retraining opportunities, we shall call them, for people in certain industries. How far away is all of this?
Well, so as you know, there are prototypes on the road. Many people have seen Google's cars, and I like to facetiously say, June 13th, 2019 at 4:32 p.m. Pacific time. But the reality is it's pretty stupid to try and predict a date for technology to that any level of precision.
The fact, though, is, Brad, that you are using a date, even in your humorous way, of 2019 as opposed to 2099. This is coming remarkably fast for most people.
It's true.
You're basically saying that today's average 5-year-old may never drive a car.
May never get a driver's license, that's right. So it is happening faster than people expect. And, look at the curves of technology adoption for the new technologies like mobile phones and DVD players and all those things. There's no question that the adoption curves keep getting faster and faster.
Brad Templeton, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Every week on The Truth About Money, we're examining how technology is changing our financial future.
When interest rates go up, what happens to bond prices? The answer is C. When interest rates go up, bond prices go down.
Financial advisors like me work to help you build a better financial future. And each week, Anderson Wozni and Brandon Corso join me on the radio to help people find solutions to their money matters. Victor's in Chicago. Hey, Victor, how are you?
Hey, so I'm 17, and I have an RIA account, and I was wondering if there were any wise investments that you could recommend me?
Victor, you're 17 years old. You have an IRA.
Yes.
Didn't you know you're not allowed to do that? I mean, you have to wait until you're 35 and then regret that you didn't do it 20 years earlier. So congrats. You get the applause. No, not the scream. You get the applause of the day. Victor, congratulations.
Thank you.
17 years old with an IRA. Good for you. And how much money is in this account?
$1,000.
And where is it now? Where's the money? Did you have it in a bank account or a mutual fund? Where is it?
It's in a Target. It's in an age fund.
A target date.
Fund.
A target date mutual fund. Okay, good. And your question is, what's the best place to put this?
Yes.
Great question. A target date fund, just to give you a quick background, is a fund that is designed to have the money invested between now and a target date. And the date most people pick is their retirement date. So if you tell me, did you pick the 2050 fund or the 2060 fund?
I don't know.
Okay,
so the 2100
the
fund.
2100 fund. He is only 17.
It was age 65.
Gotcha. Age 65 is the target, and that makes perfect sense because an IRA, that R stands for retirement. Makes perfect sense. But it isn't what we would necessarily recommend as the best way to go. What would we say, Anderson?
Well, at this point, the first thing is the assumption that at age 65 he's going to begin drawing income from it. That may not be the case. At 17, his retirement age may be 85.
Right. And therefore, Victor, what we would probably say is that instead of using a target date fund, which has a combination of stocks and bonds, because you are so young and so far away from using the money, you can have 100% of your money in stocks. Now, I want you to recognize that the stock market is very risky, it's very volatile, but over very long periods, history tells us that the stock market has the highest level of profit of any other type of investment.
Yeah, Victor, I think the key is to invest in stocks, domestic, international, small, large, medium-sized companies, growth and value. And so you want to make sure you pick a fund or funds that has very broad diversification within all of those categories.
In addition to that, there's one other thing, Victor, that we want you to do. Can you guess what that is?
I don't know.
Keep on adding to that account. In other words, if you really want to create wealth, it's a twofold process. The first part, which is what most people think about, is where do I invest? But in fact, that isn't the most important part. The most important way for you to create wealth is for you to add as much money to your savings as you possibly can. And you will be astonished, my young friend, as to how much wealth you will create over the course of your career.
All right, thank you.
You're very welcome, Victor. It is so exciting to see Victor at age 17 already having an IRA account, which means he already has earned income.
Right.
And that he's saving some of that income for
and
the
he's
future.
saying, I should have started when I was 12.
Let's go back to the telephones. Lansdowne is on the line first from Virginia.
A little background. I'm 68. My wife's 68. I grossly underestimated what I was going to owe for several reasons. She ramped up on Social Security, and she got a pay raise at work. I don't work, so no W-2 income. I transferred $6,000, which is the maximum under the spousal retirement regulations or the IRS worksheet. And then I woke up this morning, and that was a deposit, by the way, to my traditional IRA. Mm-hmm. I woke up this morning and I thought, you know what? I just took $6,000 out of a very low taxable account and put them into a pre-tax account. Did I make a mistake?
I'd say not necessarily, Lansdowne, because what you have to factor in is the $6,000 that went into your IRA, is that tax deductible based on your income level?
Yes, it is, and that's why I did it, because I needed to reduce my surprisingly high tax burden for 2012.
So you could probably tell me how much money it saved you by doing so. Is it like $2,000 or thereabouts?
About $1,500.
Yeah.
Okay.
And probably more on the state level.
And so that's money in your pocket today.
Right.
So
that's
the
right,
fact,
and it did increase the refund from my home state. So yeah, well, I appreciate the guidance, and I don't know whether you counsel your clients in that regard, but I do appreciate the advice.
We do routinely. Dealing with the IRAs, tax season, deductibility, and so on is, as you would imagine, an integral part of the advice that we provide. But I want to take it a step further. Since you said you made a very fundamental mistake because you weren't fully aware of your wife's income circumstances between Social Security and pay raises, I'm wondering if it's possible to avoid the under-withholding problem if filing separately this year might be advantageous compared to the traditional filing jointly, which he has always done. Would that provide any value or benefit to him? I don't know the answer to that question, but I would suggest that it might be worthwhile for you to talk with a tax advisor about that, because clearly your scenario has gotten a little more complicated than you are used to. And if you've made this mistake, I'm wondering what other mistakes you might have made. The problem with tax preparation, as is so often the case in personal finance, we don't know what we don't know. And for that reason, you might be better off not only validating the answer to the question you got right here, but other aspects of your tax preparation. As a financial advisor, I believe managing money is no laughing matter, but comics have a different take on personal finance.
Like, I had a lot of money at one point. Here's the problem when you have money. When you have money, to prove that you have money when you're stupid, you spend it. So eventually you have no more money. I'm proposing that if you have ever done anything that stupid, this is what you should do now. I think I should just walk around with my friends and just show my ATM receipt. That's what you should do. Wear raggedy clothes and be like, check out this ATM receipt right here. Look at that right there. Check it out right here, right? Stupid.
Yeah, basically all of my money now goes to traffic violations. Just everything in DC is illegal now if you're behind the wheel. The speed cameras are the worst. That's most of my, this is what'll be happening. I'll be driving and I see the car in front of me get flashed and I'm so busy laughing at him, I forget to slow down. Like, ha, oh yeah, that's right. That's right. I get a ticket in the mail every 3 days now. I just get my ticket and I write a check and mail it back and then maybe get another ticket. It's like I've got a really expensive pen pal.
If you could ask a financial advisor just one question, what would it be? Here's one we hear from a lot of people. What is the biggest misconception people have about financial advisors?
I think the biggest one is that that they'll have to make a lot of changes with their lifestyle in order to get to where they would like to be. But I think what they find is making those little changes, but lots of those little changes, really gets them where they need to be.
There's a lot more psychology to this job than most people would actually think. It can be the psychology of money, or quite often, with couples. Couples very often see money in entirely different ways. And there's a lot of sort of negotiating that has to go on, or mediating is probably a better word, to get couples to somehow to agree to come together on the topic of money and approach it in a way that they can just agree and have some kind of compromise on some oftentimes very strident positions.
When you're fortunate enough to have an abundance of something like time or money, what should you do with the extra? Here's Jean, my wife, business partner, and co-founder of our firm, explaining the benefits you get from giving back in The Other Side of Money.
You know, if we really, really break down everything in life, it's all about the dollar. And we're just trading dollars for time. I pay you, you pay me, I'm paying someone else for a service, I'm paying for this, I'm paying that. We're just circulating dollars. And so I think that we're all looking for this happiness. And it isn't in that dollar. And it isn't in the stuff that that dollar buys, but it's in giving back. If we can just pull ourselves out of our daily life just a little bit and find a way to give back to someone, anyone in need. I mean, there's no greater joy than to give back to somebody in need. Think of all the disasters that have ever happened in the history of the world. We all want to do something. We all feel better when we can do something to help. So when we give back, there's actually a physiological response to that giving, to that act of kindness. And we want that. You know, we want that physiological response because it feels good. It's almost like a drug. And so that piece of giving back, that is what's fulfilling.
Some final words before we go. It's never too early to plan for retirement, even if you're a teenager. Investing in real estate can be a good idea, but it's often not the best idea for military families. And while living like George Jetson is still far away, self-driving cars are coming soon. That's the truth about money. I'm Ric Edelman. See you next time. To learn more about the topics we discussed on this episode and a chance to ask your questions, visit our website at truthaboutmoneytv.com and stay connected by liking us on Facebook and following us on Twitter.